Okay, so let's get excited about this bad monetary policy for a minute.
Sure.
And to do that, we've got to understand how inflation really works. And some people might dismiss some of this and say, well, this is kind of obvious. It's really not that obvious.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nuance to these things, okay? And that's where the money is made, in the nuance, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But understand that inflation, to understand it, we need to distinguish between real and nominal. Okay. Nominal, right. That word simply means in name only, right? What is the name of something? So if I held up $100 bill and I said, Ryan, what is this called? You'd say it's a $100 bill. And you'd say that today. And if I held it up 30 years ago and said, what is it called? You'd say the same thing. It's the same name, but the value has declined dramatically. Right here in my hand are Zimbabwe dollars. Okay. One of my podcast listeners sent these to me years ago, and these Zimbabwe dollars are amazing because this is a $50 trillion note, Zimbabwe dollars. Here's 20 trillion. Here is 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. You know, one Zimbabwe dollar used to actually be worth something. Yeah. And now it's worth nothing at all because they have printed so much of it into existence that the value has just declined. So the difference between real and nominal, the difference between price and value. And we have to understand that inflation is this insidious hidden tax. It's a hidden tax. It's a pickpocket. It's a liar. It's a thief that destroys purchasing power of most people, right? It destroys their purchasing power. It destroys the value of savings, of stocks, of bonds, and even equity in real estate. Yeah. Now, I'm talking today mostly about how real estate is the great inflation wealth creator, and it is. But equity in real estate is not the same as real estate, okay? Yes. It's different, okay? But thankfully, it destroys the value of debt.
Yes.
And debt, as I like to say, is my favorite four-letter word, okay? Inflation is the most powerful method of wealth redistribution. It's not taxation. Taxation is far too obvious. Inflation is more subtle, and it is more powerful in terms of a way to redistribute wealth. Inflation redistributes wealth from lenders to borrowers because the borrowers pay the money back to the lenders in cheaper dollars over time. And it also redistributes wealth from old people to young people. Why is that? Mostly old people, hopefully at least, have assets. They have what I have above: savings, stocks, bonds, and equity in real estate. And young people have the other thing, debt.
Yes.
So without anybody dying and without anybody passing wealth through inheritance, they pass it every day through inflation as that money, that wealth is transferred to younger generations. Right. Okay. So that happens. So in 1972, I like to share a real world example that happened to tens of millions of people in the United States. Okay. So say, for example, someone bought a house in 1972. The house price back then was about $18,000. I mean, depends what number you look at. Is it a new home? Is it a resale home?
Sure.
Different surveys survey a different amount, but let's call it $18,000. They put 20% down, meaning they got a mortgage for roughly $14,000. Okay. And in 1972, $1 was worth $1. But 12 years later, that dollar was only worth 40 cents by 1984. Now they borrowed this money at 7.37%, which was the interest rate in 1972. Okay.
Yep.
And by 2001, when they're getting ready to pay that mortgage off, that dollar, by the way, I got a leaf blower outside. And by the way, Ryan, I'll just say, this is the biggest problem facing humanity. Yeah. It's not inflation. It's not COVID. It's leaf blowers. These things have to go away.
Can a guy just get a break? I mean, come on.
They are a menace to society. Okay. Total menace to society.
Oh, you're great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
anyway,
so this is phenomenal. So here we are. We're in 1972, buying a house, 20% down, right? Doing your thing, as many people have, our parents and their parents,
millions
and so
of
on.
People. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're doing a lot of this thing, and you're saying, hey, yep, great, get into a house, whatever that might be for you. But the thing that maybe you don't realize is what's going on with the dollar in terms of when you borrowed a lot of dollars and used that to acquire assets versus over time when you're ready to pay that off. There's some things that have changed. You might still be in the same house paying off that same mortgage, but it's not the same.
Right. This dollar reducing in value is a fantastic deal for people when they have mortgages, especially mortgages that are paid by renters. Right? This is part of the double inflation arbitrage, right? Because they thought they were borrowing the money at 7.37%, which is what the interest rate said when they got the loan on the loan docs. Right. But after inflation debased the value of the dollars they were paying back, they really were only paying 1.06% in inflation adjusted dollars. And this is just according to the CPI, which is understated. In real inflation terms, they were paying much less than this. But wait, there's more. After tax savings, because they get to deduct the interest, and the IRS doesn't understand inflation very well, so they get to deduct the full interest payment, and their interest rate is literally negative 1.16%. They literally got paid to borrow the money.
Yes.
It's totally incredible. This is the hidden wealth creator. Now, here's an analysis of the deal. Okay. They borrowed just over $14,000. They repaid just over $36,000 with interest. Right. But after you adjust for inflation, the real repayment amount was only just over $16,000. Their effective interest rate on the papers said 7.37%. Their real interest rate was 1.06. And then they got a tax deduction on the interest, making the real repayment only $12,655, less than they borrowed.
Compared to 36,000, right? So
what a difference. 36,000 they repaid, but they borrowed 14,000.
Okay, so the change between the two, of course.
Yeah. So they had a negative interest rate in real terms of 1.16%. They got paid to borrow the money.
Right.
This is the hidden wealth creator. And, here's a table showing each year of inflation and exactly how that worked and that analysis at the end. Okay. Right. But this is the phenomenal way to benefit from inflation. And look, nothing is for sure except death and taxes. Okay.
Right.
Right. Those are the only things guaranteed. But I would bet everything that the future long-term is inflationary.
Yes.
Because of those 6 things that I shared, right?
Right.
The governments and the central banks around the world have to inflate. They literally have no other choice. Okay. That is their solution. It is their business plan. And we should align our interests with these 2 most powerful forces the human race has ever known. Yes. The best way we can do that is through income property. Yeah. The second best way we can do that is through a business where we can raise money and pay it back either in equity or bonds. And really, it's the leveraged buyout strategy.